There we go. And so I'll take my mouse off the screen. I know that can be annoying. So, as you can see, there is some artwork on the screen, and that's something that I'm very proud of right now. But I kind of went out of the order that I was originally planning to do. I was planning to do all of the gameplay and then go flush it in with the artwork. But the problem was the state I'm at right now. I'm doing a lot of skeleton work in the background, and that doesn't really have much to show for it. So as the game progresses in its development, all that skeletal work will not need to be redone. So what I can do is I can simply add in the new content, and so that will be probably in that step of having the baseline drawing drawn out and then going in and adding in the rest of it. But although it isn't that difficult to, because of the way I'm doing it, to simply draw out the pictures first. So what you're looking at is actually four different pictures. So we have this the bed right here, which actually in itself is two pictures. So we could call this five pictures. Then we have this area over here, which is not just part of the background. It's actually a extra picture on top. And then we have this crate. So if you ever played the original version that I'm kind of basing things off for this, at least to start out, then this will look somewhat familiar to you. Just because I kind of like the idea of having sort of like a beginning puzzle, and then once you have done that, you'll hopefully have accrued enough knowledge of the controls and whatnot through the process of going through this original puzzle, and you'll be able to move on into the more open world where you can just do whatever pleases you. So you will notice that there will be a box that pops up at the bottom here, and this box actually says things if I go over to the other objects. So you can, it says search crate. If I hit enter, nothing happens. There is actually one little thing that's happening in the background, but that's not too important. It's just changing a number. But what I need to do next is make it so that I'm breaking up the text and like pop-ups into two different sections. There's messages and there's conversations. So yes, you can have a conversation with this whole. It will be very short, and it could end in death, but that is how I'm coding the game. So a message is what you're seeing on the screen right here. This is something that happens live in game when you approach something, and it prompts you with what your options are with that specific object. Now, you could have a couple different options. Usually, my default is going to be enter if there's only one option, but if it's a question of some sort, then you could have a yes or no if there's a couple different options. But what's probably going to happen is the initial message will just have enter at the end of it. And then that message will initiate a conversation. Within that conversation, the game itself is somewhat paused, and it will be a little bit more focused on the actual text that is there. So what's going to happen is, say you were being chased by something and then you paused and talked to somebody, you would get the benefit of the thing that is chasing you being no longer moving until you finish the conversation. It's sort of like the menu aspect of a lot of games, where you can kind of just open the menu and it will pause the game for you. But the idea behind having these conversations set up is that it's a structure so that I can input all of the text that I want and in the orders that I want them, and add in some conditional things like maybe different outcomes of conversations based off of answers and other stuff like that, and then be able to code on top of that conditions that apply based off of things that are happening in the conversation. So if you are in a conversation with a person, and then I don't know, like you're bartering with them, then I would have some code in the background that would be running the algorithm for how the shopkeep responds to your bartering. So there's a lot of different aspects that I'm messing around with, but what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to set up as general as a skeleton as possible, so that when I do have new ideas, I'm not struggling to implement them, which will allow me to sort of blossom my creativity a little bit more than with past games. Because once I set up the way that I implement new content, um, it can really limit what that new content is if for some reason I have set up a very specific way to implement things. The previous version of this game actually had no way to implement new things. I didn't really set up an engine. I was kind of just hand coding each section, and it actually caused some problems in various areas. There was a forest where there were just so many trees, and I printed each one individually geometrically, that the game would just go so slow when that happened. I've also improved the way that I handle collisions, because I previously would just have it set up as like if you were in some certain space, it would push you back, but that doesn't really work. It makes it a lot more convenient if you can set it up so that the wall is on both sides. So basically, how I do collisions now is if the character is going to enter a space that is collidable, then it that motion is canceled. So you can see it's attempting to run into the wall here, but the wall is canceling the forward progression, and you're only seeing the animation because I have the button pushed down. So that's kind of the gist of what's new here. I've also implemented some aspects so that I can have layers of picture. Actually, just one layer, but I think that's all that I'm going to need. So if I have sort of treetops over top of some forest area, I can have them actually cover up the character, but still be considered part of the trees, which I think is an interesting aspect, because I can do things based off of where those trees are. There's different things that I'm messing around with, and I think that I have a lot of good ideas that I plan to implement once I get the skeleton set up. Let me know if you guys have any suggestions on ideas for the game. The actual story of the game is literally going to be anything. So if you have any random ideas, I may be able to throw them in there. And just over time, I'm keeping a list on my phone of ideas that I want. Other things that I want to make sure are available in the game. I am going to have a bunch of icons on the screen over to the sides, which is nice because the screen is pretty wide, so it won't be blocking anything from view. So I'm planning to have a menu that you can actually save, quit, just various things, adjust settings, and then I'm going to have a map. So the map is something that I was pretty proud of when I did the original game of what I'm trying to do. Um, Basically, what would happen is you could only see on the map what you had already explored, which is pretty standard, but it's just kind of uh, exciting to see something like that actually work. So what I am planning to do is I have a system set up where the user knows what area it's in and what room it's in what building. So if it's outside the building, it knows it's outside the building and not in a room. It's just in an area. So right now it's in area 0, building 0, room 0, because there's only one area, one building, and one room. And that's how computers think about stuff. So it currently, if the person were to look at the map, they wouldn't see anything. But if they stepped outside, because it would be checking to see if the person had actually been outside in that area, the area would light up on the map. I'm thinking of doing sort of a maybe a 1/4 or 1/5 size view. I'm probably just going to do that in paint because that's the convenience of how I've done this. I can actually just go into Paint and resize the picture down to 20%, and it's 1/5 of the actual size. And then I'll have to do some things with arranging the pictures that need to be arranged. Like the building isn't actually in the background, it's in the foreground, on top of the area, the background. So I can actually have us pop up outside just to show you what it looks like outside. There's not much to see, um, just because I haven't implemented too much. So what we're going to do is we're just going to make the player begin 250 pixels to the left, and then we're going to set this equal to -1, so that we know that the person is outside, and we will begin. So this is what I was talking about. There isn't much to see. I just kind of picked a grassy color. I'm trying not to use the baseline paint colors. I tend to be lazy with that, and I tend to pick the base paint colors. But I'm trying to texture things. That's something that I haven't really done too much of in the past, but I thought this looked cool. It kind of looks like one of those tiles that you see. I think I had these tiles in my high school or something, um, but yeah, so then you can enter the building like that. You can see the background changes to fit the mood of the building, and it actually asks if you want to cross the hole in the other direction. Because the way I've set this up is the game knows that the user is close to an object if they are within 5 pixels of a wall that is associated with that object. So right now, there is this wall that's blocking me, but it's also letting the game know that I am near the hole, and then it prompts me with this message. So that's pretty much all that I have to show for the game. I do plan on having large improvements to this over the next few days, if even, and if not, in the next week or so. Just because, like I said, when I complete the actual skeletal structure for the game, it will exponentially grow the amount of what am I looking for, content in the game, because I can just focus on the content itself and not what's going on in the background.